Hello, people of the internet. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Thursday to you all. Much brighter than it was yesterday when we checked out the title track for this release. But jumping back on board with Miss Soojin's solo debut, of course, we checked out the title track, AGASSY. It was actually very lovely to listen to. I quite enjoyed it. But we have the rest of the album to get to, so we're going to do just that. Welcome to the album listen for Soojin's solo debut EP, the AGASSY EP. Now, the title track was brilliant. I very much enjoyed it. It had a lot of things I liked about it, even though it might have seemed that I was a little bit lower energy yesterday. You kind of have to do what you got to do when you share a floor with someone who's on a video call on the other side of the wall. You know, you can't be too energetic about it. That is the case today, so I'm able to go full bore, and I'm very excited to check it out. Because, well, if the B-sides are anything like what the title track was, this is going to be a very fun time for me. So, let's check it out. DJ, roll the intro! Now, two things. Two admin things. I guess three admin things. I'll make them short. One, if you're new around here, you've never been around for an album listen of mine, we just run through the songs in order, kind of talk through the songs, pause after each song, do a little spiel, do my usual musical waffle, continue on. Second, try and use lyric videos to the best of my abilities. Having said that, I don't know what the accuracy of these are, so if they are incorrect, then I apologize in advance, working with what I've got. Three, I usually read song credits before we start playing songs, but both of my sources are down at the moment. Like, my Reddit app doesn't work on my phone because there's an update that absolutely broke it, and then Genius is down for me. And those are like the two places that I usually get credits from because they're nice and organized and they show everything. And if there's like a name written in Korean or written in Hangul, it's Romanized and they're really easy to access. But for some reason, both sites are down today. Or for me, the Reddit app is down. Probably works in desktop, but I only have one monitor and flipping back and forth is a bit of a faff. But apologies for that. I will be reading through the song credits after I'm done recording. I am curious to see if Soojin had a hand in any part of like the composition, whether it be lyrically or actually like musically had a hand in any of her solo stuff. So let's get started. Track number 1. This is Flowering. There we go. And it's an intro track. Got it. Already, the fact that it's a cello taking lead on the instrumental part, I love it. I'm a violin player of a lot of years, so hearing any string section makes me happy. Also a little... Oh, very interesting. I'm assuming that's the end, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. Very interesting. I didn't realize this was an intro track when I queued everything up. And, well, it's one of those intro tracks where it doesn't really reveal a whole lot, does it? I don't know if saying that there is a slight resemblance to Señorita, the Idol title track, is appropriate or not. But it does have that kind of Latin dance flair to it. Maybe not like explicitly like you get on, say, a Card title track. You know, they do a nice, heavy, energetic Latin dance sound very well. This one, again, kind of similar to AGASSY, has that little bit of elegance to it. It's a little bit tame, it's a little bit graceful, a little bit elegant. I kind of like it. Also, interesting choice to have cello take lead instrument on that. I play a violin, but I've always loved the sound of a cello. It's got such a nice richness to it. You can add a nice amount of bite to the sound as well. And I think on songs where you do have a little bit of like, glissandos in the main melodic part like that, having a cello add that little bite to it, I think is a nice touch. I do find interesting that SOOJIN's voice had that reverb effect the entire time. Like, I get keeping the reverb in on like the ooh-ah section at the end there, the high soaring ooh-ah section. I think that's very pretty, and it adds to the ambience of it. I am a little bit curious to see what the song would have been like had the vocal filtering, especially the reverby filter, was a little bit toned down on her voice to start. Because like it's not like the rest of the song has a big reverb effect, or at least as noticeable of a reverb effect as SOOJIN's vocal top line did. I find very interesting. But I'm not mad at the composition choice, actually. All right. I do believe... So next up on the album should have been AGASSY. But since you've already listened to it, I've already watched it, that was a little bit, again, a little bit lower energy than I ideally would have liked to be. We covered it yesterday, so we're going to skip over it, save time, go out to song number 3, Sunflower. Here we go. Oh, this is not the meter I expected. Oh, there's a nice swing to this. Hello. It's actually a quite classy song. It's got kind of like a lounge jazz aesthetic to it in the background from the instrumentals, especially the keys. Oh yeah, the swing of this is gorgeous. And her voice too, her kind of light, delicate voice works very well for this. And yeah, this type of swing, I feel like I have not come across this type of swing a lot this year. Like, sometimes you get genres that you hear over and over again. And I don't mind that, because every artist does it differently. This is a beat I haven't heard of this year too often, if ever. And even though the song and the production's techniques behind it do sound modern, it does have that kind of like historic nostalgia feeling to it. It's like a modern reinterpretation of like classical lounge jazz, and it's so nice. That's very, very, very interesting. Oh. Based off of the fact that, AGASSY comes before Sunflower, I wasn't really sure what direction she would take this album, because, I referenced Yuju's play yesterday when we checked out AGASSY itself. But if you have a song that does have that, like, classical elegance, the regional, like, references, the regional sampling, the regional influence, and you pair it with something that kind of has that graceful elegance to it, how you follow that song up is actually quite difficult, because what follows a song like that is really going to determine what type of sound this album is going to have. Because if you have kind of like a jarring transition between each song, then you're really going to start to lose the listener. What Sunflower does is it takes that kind of elegance and the maturity and the refinement of like that loungy jazz sound, and it retains the creativity and the elegance from AGASSY. And it's like they've changed the regional influence from East Asia to the Americas and like Motown and that like jazz scene. And I think that's so interesting, because this song appears so much more brighter than I think it actually is. And yet you get the little twinkling keys, you get the flute in the background, which on some occasions kind of sounds like a piccolo. But you get like the wind instruments, you get your keys, but you also get your modern like launchpad beats in there as well. And to have all of those like factors put together and make something that sounds modern and also sounds like classic is a very interesting balance, because through all of that, it still retains the refinement for me. Next up, TyTy. TyTy. Tongue twister. SOOJIN, did you go synth? Retro synth? Not quite. It's EDM-y though. Whoa, very ambient on the synths. Nice triplet cadence. Yeah, this was not the follow-up I imagined. It's also really fast, like the BPM of it is decently quick, but it's a song that hasn't taken a break yet. It just keeps going. Like, even though it technically does feel like it goes halftime for this pre-chorus, it's still going. You really don't get much of a break from here. Octave jump, start on the low, hop an octave up, and then take that scale down. Very interesting. Oh, we don't get a nice finish at the end. Oh, the streaming meta, no! Man, I need to make that, I need to get like a soundboard or something from the amount of times I mentioned the streaming meta. Yeah, this is one of those songs where, again, you know, you can tell by the song length that, I mean, this channel adds a little like outro section, so you get like 10 seconds of filler, but 2.5 minutes is so short. Make him said. Like, as someone who grew up listening to 80s rock albums where songs wouldn't, you know, hit 4.5, 5 minutes without any issues, like, you listen to a live album from an 80s rock concert, you get songs that are 7, 8 minutes long, don't bat an eye. 2.5 minutes just feels so criminal. Having said that, though, this is a song where I feel like had it gone the full length of a pop song, like, you know, two sets of verse, pre-chorus, chorus, with the addition of a bridge and a final chorus, at that speed, would have been a lot to take in. Because this song, even though it, like I mentioned earlier, it does go into halftime, or gives off the feeling of going into halftime at the very, at like the beginnings of the pre-choruses. This song does not let up. It goes. Like, it's one of those, you know, turn the key, put the car in drive, no brakes. Unstoppable object, which is very interesting. And I think the type of song also helps in that regard as well, because it does have that EDM beat where it just wants to keep going. Almost to the point where it feels like the song just continuously gets faster and faster as you listen to it, as you get further lost in the sauce, if you will. Because of how fast the song was, it felt like it was 2 minutes rather than 2 minutes 30. It was very interesting indeed. All right, Sunset. A little bit of a slower beat, unless there's some magical change in the beat later. Got a nice, smooth, swingy beat. This pre-chorus is very nice. Love how the bottom end kind of drops out. Get up there in the vocal range, SOOJIN. Hell yeah. There's an odd sunset tropical vibe to this. I guess the song is titled Sunset, isn't it? So that part checks out. But it does feel like tropical beach house, beachfront sunset vibes. Even though the song really shouldn't, it does have tropical vibes. Maybe it's the rhythm. But also vocally, this is the highest song on the album so far, and I'm finding it very impressive. Her breathy high tones, very nice for a song of this nature. Especially with the way the bass part cuts out so you get all of the mids and trebles. I never noticed this about her, but especially in Sunset, is SOOJIN mixing her vocal range a little bit? Because it almost sounds like she's perfectly bridging that high chest voice and low head voice really well. Yeah, it feels like her, because of how high this song is, and because it's noticeable when she goes into that super high head voice, when she's in her head voice, I was almost expecting to, so I don't know what the best way to articulate this would be, but when you listen to a vocalist sing and when they sing high, sometimes most of the time you're able to notice when the vocalist goes from their head voice to their chest voice or back and forth because you hear their voice flip as they're singing. Interestingly, with SOOJIN, specifically on Sunset, I didn't really get that impression, which makes me think, is she doing mixed vocals in certain points? Because if she is, she's one of like the few rare female artists, few female vocal artists that I've come across in like the world of K-pop that can pull off a mixed tone that smoothly. The last person, from Miss Nine's Beauty on DM. And Say This Way, to be fair, but Beauty was really good at her mixed vocals. SOOJIN's giving me really nice mixed vocal vibes, and that's very cool because not many people can do it as smoothly as she just did on Sunset. So while like in terms of the song, while it might not be my like favorite song on the album so far, technique wise and like vocal top line wise, this is my favorite song because it's really quite impressive how smooth she's able to do that transitional part in her vocal range. Very nice, SOOJIN. All right. Uh-oh. Internet? There we go. Blood Red Roses. I forget if this is the last song on the album or not. Yes, it is. Oh. Peep the background vocals through here. Oh, it's like vocoded too. Oh. I mean, so far it sounds like we're kind of ending on a ballad, which for a pop album checks out. It's so minimal though. It's a very digital song, but it's so minimal, and that on its own is kind of scary. It's a little bit spooky. Cause like the amount of musical silence you get, it's like you expect something to come, but it never does. Yeah, it's a very raw song in terms of how it's been mixed too, because there's nothing to fill the space. This chorus is very cool to listen to though. So many different textures going on. And they add the vocoded level here in the second time around. Yeah, it's like this synth and the way it's been mixed, it's almost unsettling. It's also slowly getting louder. That might just be my ears playing tricks on me, but... Oh, okay. Okay, Blood Red Roses as an outro track is kind of different gravy. It's so weird. It's so spooky. It's like, it's oddly spooky. And it's not Halloween season anymore, so it shouldn't be spooky, but it feels spooky. It's like an unsettling spookiness. Oh. Now, this is kind of tying into another album I listened to today, Isle's Medlar mixtape. Isle being one of the vocalists from Hopi Pola, had a solo release yesterday. Checked out the title track yesterday and checked out the album about 30 minutes ago. And that album also kind of ended in the same way where it was a shorter song and it felt more like an outro song than a full-length song. Blood Red Roses, I don't know where I sit on this one, because it's certainly a full-length song. Well, I mean, the length of it is certainly a full-length song. The way it's been composed doesn't really come across like a purely outro track. It does have a little bit of sustenance to it, even though it really doesn't have a lot going on with the song. Like, it's got SOOJIN's vocal part, it's got all the various background vocal parts, both natural and vocaloid. you know, that robotic voice. And then you've got that eerily spooky synth with the really weird reverb on it that just kind of rings forever and makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. But that's really it. And the thing is, a ballad, I always have said that I'm a big advocate for ballads, right? So I've always said that on an emotional ballad, the most effective way you can portray emotion through a ballad in musical form is to have one vocal part in one instrument. That's it. Blood Red Roses, by that definition, should be a really effective emotional ballad because it has the one SOOJIN vocal part. Admittedly, you know, on the choruses you get more background vocal parts added, and then you get that synthesizer. That's it. This should be a really effective emotional ballad. It's got the pacing of a ballad, it's got the qualities I want from a ballad, it's got all the pieces that I want from a ballad, and yet it doesn't sound like a ballad to me. It feels like an incomplete conclusion in that this is how she's going to tie us over into the next era by leaving us on a cliffhanger. Like, this is a musical and an emotional cliffhanger for me because I don't know how I want to feel about this song. I want to know where this is going to lead. And this, to me, has everything, like, cliffhanger-wise. Because this has to lead into something. This has to signal to something. And yet this is the final thing on the album. And this is the last, like, bit of music we're going to get from her until the next release. And that is going to drive my head in. Oh! What she's done, what SOOJIN has done on this album is showcase, kind of like give a teaser on what she's capable of doing, what she can do, what she wants to do, or maybe what type of direction she's going to, like, experiment with, you know, that classy, elegant, classical motif in a little bit of a modern twist. I like that. I very much like that. I think it's a great direction for her. I thought Yuju's play did a very good job of that. SOOJIN's AGASSY also does a very good job of that. But what have I learned from her as an artist? I don't quite know. Like, vocally on Sunset, gorgeous mixed vocals, ones that I did not know she was capable of doing. Sunflower and Flowering and AGASSY, very cool that it's taking the kind of elegance and the artistry of the classical genre, or the classical traditional samples. But the fact that she's able to go different places of the world and pull inspiration from, I think that's also very cool. And that'll be something that I very much look forward to because I love a global sound sample. That's why I love Kingdom so much, is because they pull influences from the region of the world that that era is based off of. It's why I love Black Swan's Karma so much, because it's got that regional influence to it. It's why I love Yuju's play, because it has that East Asian influence to it. One of my favorite J-pop songs is Soridemo's My Song, My Days, which features traditional instrumental band Sakuramen. I love a regional sample like that. And I'm really hoping SOOJIN carries that on, because not enough people do it, in my opinion. And I know by doing this, you run into the risk of the cultural appropriation argument that I feel like gets brought up whenever an artist does that. And admittedly, I think there is a fine line between appreciation and appropriation, and that's a story for a different day. Did I get that feeling from SOOJIN? Absolutely not. I thought the sampling and I thought the references were extremely tasteful. They were extremely well executed. And if there's anything I want to see from SOOJIN's next solo release, is that she continues that elegance. She continues the regional influences. And overall, just keeps kind of expanding my knowledge and my repertoire that I have of SOOJIN as an artist. If I learn something new from every single release, and that's a success for me. And this one, I definitely learned a lot. So great success from me. But that is it for me today. Thank you all for watching along with me. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. One last request from me today: let's work together as a community to bring a little bit of extra happiness back into the world. Whether it be, checking with your friends and family, holding the door open for somebody, or even picking up a piece of trash off the street. Just one small act of kindness to make brighten someone else's day to day. And know that wherever you are in the world, should you ever be going through a tough time in your life, for whatever reason it may be, even though I'm just some guy on the internet who waffles about music in his free time, know that I will always be a friend, an ally, and a shoulder to lean on whenever you need me. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, spread the love, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.